Hi, everyone. I'm TrishAnn Williams.
I'm James.
My brother James, and we're back for another What I'm Reading episode. And shall we just get right into it?
Sure.
What I just read was Emily Henry's. I told you I was going to read this, and I did. Emily Henry's new book, Funny Story. Just briefly, it's a story about. Okay, interestingly enough, first of all, they call it a summer romance, and a beach read, and I'm going to tell you up front, it's not that, in my opinion. So that's where I'm headed with this. But it's about two people, Daphne and Miles, and they move in together after they break up. Each of their romantic interests, they get together, and so Miles and Daphne move in, and it's the story of kind of how they navigate their journey. It is labeled a summer read, and I have read Emily Henry's two previous books that were adult fiction, and I think they're similar. And interestingly enough, when I was reading a bio about her, the bio said her premiere novel in 2020, which was maybe
Conversations with Friends. No, People We Meet on Vacation.
People We Meet on Vacation. They called that her debut book. That's not true. She wrote several young adult stories prior to that.
I didn't know that.
And I read one of them, and it was called something. It's called When the Sky Fell on Splendor, and it's kind of science fiction based. It's got a really different tone. I enjoyed it, but I thought it was interesting because it's really two different writing styles, and so it's interesting to see how she wrote before and how she writes now. And I think that it's probably different fan bases, but if you like her, try that one. I thought it was really interesting.
I actually love that. I did not know that.
Yeah, try it. It was 2019 maybe that one came out, and I liked it. Anyway, okay, so this book, Funny Story. What I'm going to tell you is that for me, a beach read is something where I can sit on a lounge chair and have half my mind doing one thing, half my mind looking at the book, half my mind watching the kids or whatever, and not really be thinking about any of it. Well, this is not that book. It's not light. It's lighthearted, and the surface story is very straightforward. But Emily Henry's very nuanced. So this is really about Daphne and Miles and their journey on how they handle this breakup and how they come through it, and how it kind of ties into some childhood issues and other issues that they have. So like I really wanted to focus on the book. I'm glad I wasn't reading it at the beach, because my mindset was I really want to know how they're getting through this. It's not really just a surface level book. It's layered, and it has some depth, and it really is their journey. So I don't know how you classify a beach read, but I think this is more than just a summer read that's only surface. It's well written. It's got a lot of depth, and like I said, I don't want to read it in my beach chair, but if that's what you want to do, just know that it's a story that you're going to actually get into and follow their journey. That's me.
That's good to know. I did not know any of that. I read beach reads,
Yeah.
And I read Book Lovers, and those were beach reads. Those to me were just ideal, feel good, ups and downs, but overall just feel good books. So that's good to know about her.
I feel like this has maybe a little bit, because I thought those had a little bit of depth too. I thought they were a little bit easier.
She is nuanced, though. You're right.
But this one had a lot of it. And like I said, if you really want to try something different, go back and read a young adult's novel. It was good. I enjoyed it.
I'm going to do that, actually. Yes.
Okay.
So last episode, I said that I was going to read Murder Your Employer. I started reading Murder Your Employer. I got uncomfortable reading Murder Your Employer, so I stopped reading him. And I won't get into any of that, though. I mean, the writing style, I got like 20 pages into it, and it seemed to be like it wasn't going to be a funny one. So, and I might at some point get back into it. I don't think I was in the right mindset at that point in time. So, what I started reading 2 nights ago was this one.
I think that's a beautiful
Powerless.
cover.
It is a beautiful cover.
Really
Doesn't have the sprayed edges like that's really popular now. These don't have them, but yes, consider that for your book.
Interesting. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yes, I'll show you some when we're done.
Okay.
I'm literally like 15 pages into this one. This is a new award winner. I think it was the Barnes and Noble Awards, but it was the Young Adults Teen Book Award winner, and it is fantasy. And right now, nothing is happening from where I am right now, but I can see where she's setting it up. You know, I mean, you've got the kind of little a plague has given some people abilities like to climb walls and magical abilities, but not everybody. And so now we're like 20 years later, and the class differentials have really gotten stark. So you've got the really really poor people and the really really rich elites, and I can see, and they're taken from the point of view of two different. One of the little street urchin girls, who's a expert thief and all this, and then one of the future king. He's again, they're both teenagers, so it's going to be one of those stories.
Okay.
But yeah, so far I'm really enjoying. I can see where she's setting it up for when everything is going to start happening. So,
And who's the author?
oh, I'm sorry. This is Lauren Roberts.
And do you know her? I mean,
Never read her before.
Okay, never read her before. Okay, so that'll be good to know. So we'll see how.
So Lauren Roberts. Yes.
Okay, love it.
Okay. All right.
James will keep us posted. All right, so
This is going to be fun.
This is going to be fun. What I've read in the past. So I gave my brother the option to choose, and he chose horror. And so
like horror books.
He likes a horror book. I will tell you, I'll start. I don't watch horror movies. I don't read horror books. I don't like people who saw off their own legs. I don't like a lot of blood and gore. It's not my thing. When I think of horror, I think of Stephen King, and that's very mainline. I get it. My favorite Stephen King novel is Misery. I thought it was really scary.
Excellent.
I thought they did a really good job with the movie representing the book. But for me to review Stephen King is, we all know him. I mean, my point is I want to introduce you to something maybe you haven't read. So I'm going to go horror adjacent. And the book that I picked is a book called Room. I believe that somehow my brother turned me onto this book. I don't know how, because I'm not sure how I would have gotten to it on my own. But the author is Emma Donaghue. It was written in 2010. It's not new. It's been made into a TV movie with Brie Larson in it.
I haven't seen the movie.
I haven't seen the movie. I didn't know that either. I read it. So I read this book a while ago. So the reason it kind of stayed on me, I read it probably, I don't know, maybe 3 years ago, and I saved it. I usually will read a book and then I'll kind of hide it and not pay any more attention to it. And books that stay with me that I think I may want to go back and revisit, I will save. And this book was one of the ones I had saved because it intrigued me so much. And so I'll start by kind of saying I don't want to give a whole lot away about it, but the premise behind the book is horror. It is the story of a young girl who's been kidnapped, and it's her and her 5-year-old son, and their world is inside of an 11 by 11 storage shed. That's where this child was born, and that's the only place that he's ever lived. So the premise behind it is horror 100%, right? It's a realistic thing. We've read about real life crime where situations like this has happened. I can certainly imagine the horrors that especially this young mother has gone through. What's intriguing to me about this story is written from the point of view of the 5-year-old. And I read a lot of reviews about it, and some people really were turned off by that because it's a 5-year-old sentence, it's 5-year-old dialogue. Clearly, it's a 5-year-old who's in a unique circumstance. Some people didn't like that. I really did. I think that the story itself is horrifying enough to where I can visualize what's going on. I don't need it graphically told to me, but seeing it from a child's eyes and seeing, to me, the story is about the lengths that this mom would go through to protect her son and the absolute devotion and love that she had for him in these horrible circumstances really stood out for me. And you're seeing it through his eyes. He doesn't know any different, right? He doesn't know the outside world. And so I would tell you that Stephen King could have written this story. It would have been a whole different story. This is a horror story that actually is very poignant and not heartwarming because the material isn't heartwarming, but it's very intriguing because it really goes to show the depths again that a mother will go to protect her child. So that's my story.
And it also goes to show of a writing style that is unique.
For sure. I mean, she even says in that she took she was never going to write it any other way, and a lot of people told her not to do that. And she said she wasn't going to tell the story any other way. So that's a brave thing to do in and of itself. And for me, it worked. I liked it.
You should. Did you read The Silent Patient?
I did.
What? See, that was a horror show.
Yeah,
That
it was.
that book scared me a little bit.
Yeah, it did. You're right.
But the one that I chose is a horror book. Thank you. It is called My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. Where is his name on here? Grady Hendrix. Um, I love his books. You would think that he's got one called Southern Book Club's Guide to Vampire Slaying, How to Sell a Haunted House. So he has humorous titles. They're not humorous books. Okay. We're a little bit short on time here. But basically, this book is exactly what it says. Takes place in the 80s. I'll tell you that I spent the first 10 minutes of this book reading the table of contents.
Oh, wow.
Because every chapter is a 80s song from the 80s. I'm going to say that. We got the beat.
That's funny.
Don't you forget about me. And so King of Pain by Sting. So that's what's fun. It basically is a classic horror story. 80s. It's a group of girls. They experiment with, they go out to the woods, find a little cabin, and one of them gets possessed, and they have to perform an exorcism. And this book was actually really, really scary. I mean, way more so than I thought it was going to be. His books have a tendency to creep up on you. And so, I mean, like when she is possessed, nobody believes the non-possessed girl, the best friend. Nobody believes her when she says there's something wrong with my friend, because all of a sudden she's popular and all this kind of stuff. And then she gets treated pretty bad. So by this demon. So anyway, but it was a really good scary book. I highly recommend it.
Is it recent? Do you know when it came out?
3 years maybe.
Okay, so fairly
Yeah,
recent.
so it's fairly recent.
Well, no, 2017. Oh, yeah, 2016
originally.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's been for a little while.
Yeah.
Okay.
And next.
Quickly, I'm going to read next. I don't know if we're going to talk about this or not, but I'm reading a series of books. Katie Winters. All these books take place in Bar Harbor, and I'm going to Bar Harbor this summer. That's why I picked it. I'm not 100% sure on this whole thing, so I'll keep you posted on that.
Well, I wish I had nice little graphics like TrishAnn does here, but my book that I'm going to read next is called, well, after I finish Powerless, I might read something in between. But the one I'm really looking forward to is called Dreadful. It's not out yet. It comes out May 28th, and it's a fantasy book, an adult fantasy book, but it's a farcical. So it's a guy wakes up in this throne room and he's like, oh my god, I must have been summoned by the Dreadlord whoever. Well, it turns out he actually is the Dreadlord whoever, but doesn't remember it. So him navigating, oh, I'm supposed to be a bad, mean person, but I'm not one. So
I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, but apparently it's a farcical one, so it's gonna be funny. Just play off of all the other stuff. So
awesome.
All right,
and don't forget, Two Crimson Smiles, TrishAnn Williams. The tagline for
the books I recommended. Thank you.
Thank you. The tagline is "Till death do us part. Sometimes death is the only answer." I think we're going to start pre-selling next month, so I'll keep everyone posted. Until then,
Excellent.
Yeah, keep on reading. We'll talk to you next time.
Bye.